Hi, this is Liz Janowski, and I wanted to share a little bit about the process of what I teach in movement. So, I was on a podcast last week with Emily Wishel for her wonderful book, Radical Embodiment, and I have been a teacher to Emily along with many others. And, I haven't really talked about the process that I use. I haven't really talked about my teaching that much at all. I kind of hint at it, I dance around it. And some of that is because I like to be kind of mysterious. I like it to be magical. It exists for me in this sort of mysterious, underworldy, can't quite be explained in the daytime hours realm. But over the years, I have developed a process. There is one. And what I realized in talking to Emily, so thank you, Emily, is it actually is something that can be applied in your life outside of the context of my basement movement temple. It's something that does make sense. It's something that's applicable in other ways. And so I thought I'd talk a little bit about it here and share it. And I'm just about ready to exit social media, and I'll explain that in another video, the next one I'm going to post. And so I thought I'd share this as kind of a going away present to everybody. So, and then I'm going to be on my blog. I'm going back 2003. It's early aughts over here. I'm going to a blog. I'll explain all of that. So the first question Emily asked me on our podcast is like, what is embodiment to you and how do you become embodied? And I could go on for like 10, 20 minutes about this because I want to remind everyone that you are embodied all the time. You have a body, you're embodied. And I don't want it to become this challenging thing, because if anything that my work is about with people, it's about easefulness. It's about not doing, just being, not trying, just being, just having, just instantaneously having. And I think that there's this way that we can make pleasure practices or embodiment practices be like this extra thing that you have to do or try or you don't have, or like create this anxiety around the fact that you have a body. This is your one precious body that you will inhabit for your whole life. This is the only tool you get to do life in. This. Whether you like it or you don't like it, or you're in it, or you have issues with it, or you don't, or who cares, this is all you get. One tool to live. I strive in my work with myself and with people to open up access to more aliveness, which just means, don't you want to feel more things in this one precious, perfect, beautiful life that you get to have? Because you only get one tool and you only get one life, as far as I know. If you get more, I will come back and make another video about that. So what I talk about, what I do, and I really don't share kind of some of the behind the scenes thought process, but what I believe is that if you look at the babies, children, I happen to be a mom, it's very important to me. What I have seen is that we are all born with a pretty short span between what you feel, what your body is telling you, and what you respond to, right? The signal between I want this or I feel this and your response is very, very close, right? We all know that, like a baby doesn't want something, it cries, or a child has an emotion, it is reflected accurately. And then as you grow, and this is part of just becoming civilized or becoming part of society, the spacing, there becomes kind of a gap. And that's because like you don't want to go to school, but you have to get up and go to school, or you don't want to wear pants today, but you have to wear pants because people wear pants, right? Everyone who's like a mom has been through this struggle with their child, where I don't want to wear boots, but it's snowing, right? So we start to create like a disconnect where like you don't get to respond as accurately to your body's responses, or like it's not lunchtime right now, so you can't eat. So you start to kind of doubt the message that your body's telling you. And that's where this kind of space becomes between desire, which is the animating force of all living beings. It's a Liz Janowski quote. Desire is the animating force of all life. All life has desire. Grass wants to grow, birds want to fly. Desire is the animating force of all life. There's nothing wrong with desire. And action to meet that desire. The space starts to build. And then, of course, lots of us have had bad things happen to us where someone touched us and we didn't want to, but we couldn't say no. And of course, then more space and more distrust, mistrust builds, right? So the very first thing that I do, and this often can take a really long time for people depending on where they come in, and you can't quite say this to people, it just has to be a somatic experience, is to create a lot of safety. Slowness, somatic safety, lots of cozy things, lots of reflections and talk about you don't have to do anything, there's nothing you have to do to please me, you don't have to watch me, there's no goal, right? So just softness, safety, as many safety kind of feedback mechanisms that you can give people. And then the invitation that nothing has to be done, absolutely nothing has to be accomplished, done, no goal. Right, I don't even charge for my community dance classes because part of that is like, this doesn't have to be hard at all, so easy. Okay, trying to wash away some of that so that we can start to do this little repair of like, I have a desire and I go for it, right? So we start to create, I'm not going to go on at great length here how exactly we do that, but it becomes this environment of safety, of softness, of cueing that starts to allow people to slow down, to reprogram, to listen, to hear, to reconnect those bonds between the desire and the response in your body, to make desires okay again, right? To even hear what they are: safety, slowness, listening, internal listening, safety in a group, safety around others, ability to understand and process and listen, ability to prioritize what's going on inside. These are all parts of this experience, right? So that's kind of part one. That can take anywhere from one class, months, doesn't really matter because there is no goal and you have to do it every single time, every time. Once you've created that space, which a lot of people are doing in that space, I'm doing it in a really somatic, interesting way in a group setting. I think step 2, and I do this both in movement and with art projects and photography, is there becomes this really magical opportunity to create environments, archetypical environments, magical environments, physical environments, energetic environments for exploration and play. Because once people are softened enough, safe enough, reconnecting those bonds of desire, you can actually like unzip and allow this sense of sort of play, of artistry, and you can start to exist in what I like to call the sort of the potentiality body. So the body that is willing to like step outside of story, step into a bigger space, allow this little tiny box of self, the little tiny story of self. Most of us carry around a very constricted, small sense of self, a very constricted sense of story of self. Well, but once we start to reconnect these bonds and feel that sense of safety, you can start just kind of slowly open. I see it as kind of like a zip down the back spine of like a sense of play, of magic, of invitation to allow archetypical play, magical play, fun play, right? Inventive play. And it can be about very serious topics, very playful topics. I find it's best to have kind of a mix and to really have like a somatic sense of play. And once you can start doing that, there can really start to be this somatic reconfiguration of how people sense themselves. So you have this safety, you have this desire reconnection, you can create these magical, archetypical environments, expansion of self, play of self. And then what I see happens is when this stuff starts to happen and it's reflected back to you either through my camera lens or through a group environment where you're watching other people do this and other people are watching you do this, is there is just sort of this like massive somatic reconfiguration, this massive internal growth that can happen very, very quickly about who you think you are, of shifting of your stories, a softening of self, a widening of self. And really, I think that's kind of the point of everything that I do, is that you are so much bigger than you think you are. That doesn't mean you like walk around powerful warrior. In fact, I don't care about any of that. You're wider, you're bigger, you're softer. There's so much more space for you inside, outside, in the world than you ever thought possible. Your identity is so much more fluid. There's so much more support for you. There's so much more possibility inside your body, inside your identity than you ever thought possible. And that's what really, really excites me. So I invite you, whether it's with me or with someone else, to step into your potentiality body. Let desire animate yourself. Find a sense of play. Drop some of the heavy, constricted stories you carry around. Let it be done through someone reflecting that back to you, whether it's through art that's created about you or with you, or you watch other people and they watch you, and watch yourself become a broader, softer, whiter thing than you ever imagined you could be. So I love it. I feel like the luckiest person in the world that, for whatever reason, people have walked into my world and we get to play. Thank you, God. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, my students. Thank you, my friends. Thank you for the people who see me.